hear from an incredible retailer who's really using technology to drive resiliency in their business, and that is Żabka Poland. Today, I want to welcome Tomasz Blicharski, Executive Vice President, Board Member, Managing Director of Żabka Future at Zabka Polska. Thank you so much for joining us, Tomasz.
Thanks for having me. I'm very much looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. Now, Żabka is the largest convenience store chain in all of Europe, a household name in Poland, and I think even maybe more importantly, you guys are really changing and challenging the status quo of European retail convenience with your rollout of autonomous stores. So before we jump in anymore, will you tell us a little bit about your company, how your digital transformation journey is building your reputation as really the market challenger and innovator?
Yeah, happy to do so. So as you mentioned, we are the leaders in convenience, right? More than 9,000 stores. But we don't really consider ourselves a retailer or pure retailer anymore. We actually think about ourselves as this convenience ecosystem that obviously consists of more than 9,000 retail stores, but also has this digital face to it. So we're the leaders in quick commerce in Poland. We're the leaders in direct-to-consumer meals. We have the leading consumer app that connects all of these dots. And last but not least, we're also operating the largest chain of autonomous stores in Europe with more than 50 outlets.
It's really incredible. And I think, underneath that, and all the technologies I love that you say that your mission is to make lives easier, which is so aligned with the Microsoft mission. And I've heard you say that going into a Żabka store should be like opening our refrigerator door at home. So tell us, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, look, a lot of retailers want the customer to spend as much time in their store as possible, right? So they kind of think about different ways on how to kind of keep the customers in the store to increase the basket size or increase the engagement. For us, it's simple. Our mission is to kind of free up the free time of the consumer, make their life easier. And we actually count every second the consumer is in the store, and we want to make it even lower number, right? So the average time for regular stores is 106 seconds. And we actually are thinking, the way we are organized ourselves, the way we are thinking about our business is actually to make this time lower, right? So what we do is try to optimize the shopping experience to make it as easy and as quick as possible.
Wow. I mean, that is sort of, as we would say in the US, bucking the norm of, usually traditionally sort of the more dwell time in a store, the higher units per transaction, the average order size. But I assume you're seeing that it's actually, as you lower the amount of time in the store, it's improving the customer experience and your financials. I know, autonomous stores have been a conversation in the retail industry for a while, and we're all so eager to hear more. How do they work? As I mentioned before, how do the economics work? How's customer adoption working? And maybe you could share some of your early learnings.
Yeah. I mean, autonomous has been big for the last few years already, right? And we actually started thinking about it and working on it already back in 2017, 2018. And we have started with an idea, as I said, I mean, it's 106 seconds. How can we shorter that? And how can we make it even more smooth? How can we place stores in areas, in retail lingo, catchment areas that were unavailable to us before? And then we stumbled upon a technology, autonomous technology, checkout-less stores back in 2018, and we started developing it with a partner, with iFi, starting early 2018. We're looking at how to optimize the customer journey, but also the cost of the technology, which is, super important for any retailer. In grocery, as you know, everyone looks at the cost in great details. And the way the store works at the moment is that this is camera-only solution, so deep learning, computer vision only solution. There are no shelf sensors. Everything is based on cameras and only on this regular basic cameras. So not depth cameras, which are expensive, but simple regular cameras. From the customer standpoint, the customers enters the store using an app or also a credit or a debit card. This is new, and not all of the solutions on the market have that possibility. So it's a dual track process for the customer. This is to effectively lower the barriers to entry to the store. Once the customer enters into the store, he or she takes a product and leaves. There is no physical checkout process. Everything is done using technology, based on cloud or based on other solutions. And depending on if or he or she was using an app or a credit card, is either a recipe within an app or also a text message with a recipe, and that's it. So it's simpler. Actually, the checkout process traditionally takes half of this 106 seconds. This is eliminated to zero almost. So there you go. It's easier. And secondly, the stores can be smaller, right? Because there's no physical checkout area. So therefore, you can place it in locations where regular stores cannot be placed. And we even have stores within other stores. So for example, you have a big department stores. We were able to place a small convenience stores within that. Or we have stores in student houses, or in train stations, but in very small kind of real estate where regular stores couldn't work. All of this is possible because of the auto checkout technology.
It's incredible because, as you said, you sort of start with thinking about, how do I bring the experience down to 106 seconds? But you've built this whole sort of business and retail to you around just sort of some of these premises, which I think for many retailers that I speak to, sort of the friction, if you will, has always been, how do I do this at the economics that really work for me as a retailer? And you're describing unmanned or unpersoned stores where you remove the checkout, but as I'm hearing you talk, your vision really goes far beyond that to true autonomous retail. And can you tell us a little bit about that? Because it's so unique in the market.
Yeah, I mean, there's one side of it is unmanned, right? So there is no physical personnel within the store, other than for certain tasks such as replenishment or cleanup, etc. So there are, no permanent staff members of the store. So that's one side of it. But the autonomous means something more than that, right? Autonomous store is a little bit like connecting the dot between the physical store and digital store, or digital tools and digital technology data part, right? If you combine the two, and we call it phygital, for lack of better word maybe, then you can get the additional value. There is a lot of synergy that you can drive from using the proper data and proper within the whole equation.
I mean, it's exactly what we heard Dan talk about earlier in terms of customer experience, data, and automation really coming together to really drive, again, one of the key themes that we heard from the research, which is about profitability. So, you've already accomplished so much in these stores, and I'm glad you called out iFi, who's been an incredible partner to us both. As you sort of blur your eyes and think about the future, how do you see the future of retailer? And for all of those who are listening and looking to you, how do other retailers prepare for the future?
Yeah, I mean, obviously nobody has a perfect, perfect view of the future, right? When I look at it, I'm thinking, what are the main consumer trends on one hand? Where is the labor market going? And how is the technology enabling all these shifts? And the way I see it is, first of all, I'm looking at the world of ecosystems. And retailers will be turning into different ecosystem that will surround the consumer. The brands of retailers are getting stronger and stronger. The connection with the consumer is growing better and better. The data enable a lot of additional value add if used wisely, and the technology to drive value from data is increasing at the exponential pace, right? So if you think about it, that enables buildup of the ecosystems, and more retailers, as I hear, look at it from that perspective. I think that will only grow, continue to grow. That's on one level.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
Yeah. Then on the other level, if you think about it, historically, before the dot-com bubble, the internet era, all retailers were brick and mortar. Then we had retailers that were online only, and they've kind of taken a lot of market share, right? And now I believe we're kind of in this era that there's going to be a combination of both, right? So what I see in different parts of the world is that pure digital retailers are going into brick and mortar, and brick and mortar retailers are going towards digital, and there is a combination of physical assets and digital technology that enables to drive value. I think if you combine what I've mentioned before about the ecosystem and this approach, so we call it phygital, you can call it omni-channel. There are different ways to approach it, but combination of this ecosystem approach and physical and digital is something that is going to continue to grow and dominate the marketplace.
I think that is so well said. And for all of our audience, this idea of ecosystems, and you mentioned sort of bringing a Żabka store into a department store or closer to students or universities, and then this phygital or omni-channel, those two ingredients, regardless of how the things we cannot predict for the future of retail, those are fantastic grounding principles for all of us to think about in terms of the investments that we're making for the customer and with the technology. Tomasz, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for being an incredible partner to Microsoft. Thank you for being an inspiration or a beacon for retailers globally in terms of innovation and sticking to it through very complicated and tough times. And we cannot wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak and meeting you, Shelley. And I hope everyone had an interesting session.
Absolutely. I know they did. Thank you.